You close the door when you leave. What's up everybody, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Bree. Today we have a lot to talk about. This is something I've been waiting to talk about for a very long time, and I really haven't even talked to some of my more general friends and even some of my family members, like my extended family members, because it's just so complicated. Today we're talking about how I got kicked out of college and how I got back in. So this is not something I talk about very much. It's not really a flattering talking point. I really believe that talking about this could help someone and help new incoming freshmen and people that are new to college to understand just everything about college. I wanted to sit down and kind of give my experience on college and just the ups and downs, and then at the end I wanted to put some advice. I will try to make this video short as possible. I debated making one video over just getting kicked out of college and removed and getting back in, and then a separate one on college advice, but I thought it would be better to just have everything in one place so you're able to just really understand everything. Another big factor into me talking about this is my amazing advisor. Shout out to Andrea because I love her. She is amazing. She's really supported everything that I've been doing throughout all of my college career, and we have known her all 4 years, 4+ years of college, down to me having a YouTube channel, and we've talked about this a lot. So I wanted to read an email that she actually sent me because this was inspiration behind me actually really coming out and talking about my whole college experience. This is so cute and I really appreciate this, so thank you so much for messaging this to me. I don't think I ever would have, been brave enough to sit down and just talk about this to the internet and post this on YouTube, but I think that this is bigger than just me. It really is about anyone coming into college, and maybe it can just help someone and bring light to just everything that there is, because college is important and I want everyone to have the best experience that they can. I think you have a very powerful college success story, and I think candidly sharing your story and how you felt through the whole process and how you overcome that would be really cool. It might be something I'd consider sharing with students if you could weave in some helpful advice. Just a thought. I'm proud of your journey, and I think it is a testament to determination and hard work. And that just really made me think of my whole college experience in a different way. I have always been so focused on overcoming so many problems and not really stepping back and realizing everything that I've been through and really giving myself positive recognition for things I've actually accomplished. Using those words didn't really come to mind. I've always just been so kind of hard on myself and trying to push through and just finish college and all the negative things that have happened to me, and it just has stressed me out. But I haven't really sat down and thought, I'm doing good, I'm doing this. I'm one semester away from graduating, from going into college and everything in between. I'm almost done, I'm doing it. So that just really made me think that I could help talk to some other people that are in college and about to go into college and really just give my whole story. So bear with me, don't think that everything is negative. I want to show the possibility of what can happen, down to the very lows to the very highs. So it's really just what you make it, and I've put out a list of advice I want to go through at the end of this, but let me just share with you my story about how I got kicked out of college. So if you have watched my previous story time on my college experience, you'll know I went through a lot my freshman year. I spent the whole first month or so back at home. I won't give everything away, but if you haven't watched that video, the basic rundown of it, I was dropped off at the college the first day and I got moved in. I was excited. My parents helped me move in and left, and then I started having some breathing issues and I got really nervous, obviously, and I ended up driving myself to the ER between 1 and 2 in the morning a couple different times, and I found out I had mono. This is already a very difficult time. It's a transition time between high school and college. Whether you're good at school or not, it's something completely different, being on your own and being responsible for yourself. There's a lot of things I went through just personally that wasn't a complaint, but just it's things I had to work around. I was very focused on just putting my head down and getting through college, passing and graduating. That's all I was focused on, but did I know I was in for so much more. Another thing I found out towards the end of high school is that I'm actually dyslexic. I'm not on the very high end of it. I am more on the lower end of it, but it does affect me, and there's different ways that people learn. Not knowing that I had dyslexia was really difficult because there were ways I could help myself, but I didn't know I needed. So I was just beating myself up that I was struggling, and that's all I really focused on. So knowing that, I ended up being able to find different ways to help myself study and take tests and do my homework and just go through school. So now I have just learned that I have dyslexia. I am going to college for the first time, and I haven't even spent the first month in school. So there's just a lot that was kind of stacking up, but again, I was okay. There was just a lot that was starting to stack up. A little bit about college. I am a senior at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I'm going into advertising and public relations, so I'm in the College of Journalism. So the first big thing that was a factor into it was my main course classes, which are important because those weigh a little bit heavier on your GPA. So these are very important for me to pass. They also have a different passing scale. I had to at least get a C. C minuses don't count. It had to be a C, C plus or higher. I was actually doing very well in these classes. I was getting A's and B's on everything. I was doing just fine. So I had 4 different levels of this class that were mandatory to take. And I decided to take 1 and 2 in the same semester, which wasn't super abnormal, but I was ready to just sort of get those out of the way. Every other week you would come to class and you would present your project and you'd get feedback off of it and all of that. The way it was set up is you had reading and you had a quiz, and then you had to do a pre-project, which is a mini project to the main project that you're doing, and then you had to do the whole main project, which had requirements for it, and you had to check everything off of the box and produce it. And like I said, I was doing very good. It was kind of a lot to do. They actually ended up changing how the curriculum was for this. They, I believe, took out the pre-project, so you only had to do the reading with the quiz, and then you did the main project every other week. So they actually ended up taking it down because they realized that was a lot. But when I was in it, I had to do all of it. But again, no complaints. I got everything done. It was fine. But I had 2 of these to do. So any college, you still have to take other requirements, like even though I was doing design courses and things like that, I still had to take math and writing and so on and so on. But one of my other classes I was struggling with a little bit, and I ended up not passing that, which is going to be advice for later, but this isn't a problem. If you fail a class, it's okay. Like, it's very normal to not do well in every single class. Like, it's one out of many classes you have to take, and it really wasn't a problem, and I was able to retake that course later on. What was the problem ended up being my 2 main requirement courses, and I was getting every quiz and pre-project and full project done, and I went to every single class. I didn't miss any, and I was very close with the professors. The other professor wasn't great, but again, there's good and bad professors, and you get along and don't get along with different ones, and it isn't an issue. And all of a sudden, I had about a month or so left of this semester. I had been getting through, and I was so excited to be done, and all of a sudden, my grades weren't coming in as quickly as they had been. But I was sure that it had to do with the end of the semester, a lot's going on to get finished. I did end up talking to one of my professors about how some of my main projects weren't getting graded, which of course things like the quizzes aren't going to weigh as much as the main projects are going to weigh. And most of my things were getting graded, but my projects started not coming in all of a sudden. Even though I was going to class and I was getting the presentation graded, and I was submitting it electronically, so there was proof that it was done. A couple weeks went by, and then all of a sudden they went to 0, which is confusing. So I went to both of them, and they talked about it, and they're like, oh, it will change. I'm going through a lot of things, end of the semester. If that's the situation, don't worry about it. It will get changed. So I thought, okay, this is no big deal, and I trusted both of them. Didn't really have an issue. If you couldn't imagine, my grade was awful. It went down to like F's and D's, and this was hurting my GPA, and I was about to finish the semester, and this was going to be a big problem if I didn't pass. A couple days to a week after the semester ends, he replies back finally and said, this was an issue you should have brought up to me earlier. I can't do anything about it. It's past this semester. But the thing is, I did. I went to him in person and I sent him an email. He just didn't reply. And he told me in person it was no big deal and he was going to fix it. And then the way of fixing it was putting in the 0, apparently, for things that had electronic proof that were finished up to requirements and was submitted. I wasn't even getting a bad grade. He just gave me a 0. And this was happening in the other class too, my level 2 class. some of my projects weren't getting graded, and I talked to her as well, and she just didn't say anything back. I didn't understand what was going on, and then he just went back and forth with me and telling me it was my fault and that he has a lot to do and I should have talked to him about this earlier, and now it's past the end of the semester, so there's just nothing he can do about it apparently. So I actually went to the administration's office. I talked to the dean, I talked to different people. So me and my parents ended up emailing the university about this whole situation, and they said they would try to help me and that they would talk to the professors, and that nothing was really coming out of it though, and we tried everything we could do. And all universities have a standard GPA where it's this low, then that means you're not passing, and there's also a point where you're about to be failing out of college where you get put on academic probation. So I had to at least have over a 2.0, and I couldn't believe that I was even worried about not getting a 2.0. I got something like a 1.97, so it was just not passing because of the fact this was my first semester. All I could go off of was the classes that I was doing pretty good in, and it was fine. And then the class where I myself just wasn't doing good in, and I failed that class, and then I failed 2 main classes on top of that. That was not my fault. So failing 3 classes my first semester just made my GPA go way down, end up getting put on probation. And if you don't get off of probation and you're still under a 2.0, you get kicked out of the college. It's my first semester and I'm somehow already failing. I couldn't believe it. And after everything I was just going through and overcoming, and I was about to be removed. So what ended up happening at the very end of all of this was that the school did contact them, and both professors ended up contacting me back, and through these emails they were so nice about everything and telling me how much they wanted to help me and they wanted to make sure everything was okay. And then they were telling me it's because I didn't finish all of my assignments and that they were gonna let me finish some of them. But I mean, there were some things I didn't fully finish. Like maybe there wasn't a reading quiz that wasn't finished, which would be like 5 points, whereas my main projects were worth like 40 or 50 points, which were heavier, of course. And those were all done. So I went back and I finished my one reading quiz I didn't do, and I tidied up some of my other projects that they let me do. But the other problems were that my projects were in that they just fully weren't grading. So they decided to go back and grade it, but they gave me C's on all of them, even though my criteria was completely met and I produced very good projects. And it wasn't like one was a C and the other ones were an A and a B. They just straight went down, and all the ones they didn't grade, they gave me C's. So I ended up passing one of them with a C and it was fine, but the other one I had a B in or something like that, and she just wasn't budging on anything and she wasn't being helpful. I ended up getting a D in. So I completely had to retake that course. So now I'm set back, my GPA is low, I'm on academic probation, I'm almost getting kicked out, and all I can do is work really hard to get pristine grades on everything. Otherwise, I'm not gonna pull up over a 2.0, which is crazy. Never thought I'd have to worry about overcoming such a low GPA. My expectations for myself were even higher, but I wasn't even just passing classes, I was struggling to stay in school. So the next semester comes around, I'm doing good in my classes, I'm passing things, and again, it's normal to not do perfect in every single one of your classes. There are requirements, for example, writing was a requirement, so you could take anything from poetry to creative writing, and maybe you're not great at poetry, but maybe you're amazing at creative writing. So you just need to find a good class that you can work hard in and do well at, and it's just about finding the fit. So there were some classes I wasn't doing great in, and I either switched or I failed, which again is okay. It just sucked that my first semester was so rocky and unfair that I had such high expectations in order to pull up over that 2.0 and not get kicked out. But I tried so hard, I worked so incredibly hard that next semester to make sure I was pulled up, and I got to a 1.99. I pulled up, I did better, but it wasn't enough. I was 0.01% away from having a 2.0, and that didn't matter. I'm distraught, I am already stressed out trying to make sure my grades are perfect as possible, and then I have emails coming in from the school reminding me about probation. And by the way, when you're on probation, you're on different levels and you have to do different things. You have to watch an academic video over what academic probation is, and you have to watch the whole thing, and then you have to take a little quiz over it, and then you have to go in with a different advisor which I had an assigned advisor, but I had to go through the resource center. They dealt with just general people and academic probation. So I had to go talk with them specifically about being on probation and what I could do better, and which I told them what was going on, and I couldn't really do too much better because the reason I was going to be getting kicked out wasn't even my fault. I had to sit there and they had to ask me questions like, what can you do better? I'm like, I don't know. And so I had to sit there and I had to write over what I'm going to be doing better, and that we're going to be tracking things together and making sure I'm getting those goals done. I had to write goals for myself, even though it wasn't even over anything I did wrong. I just had to make things up. So I had to go to unnecessary meetings and make goals for myself, and there was just so much going on. And I was working too, and I was doing the best I could, and the best I could just wasn't good enough. And I finally got the notice I was being academically removed from the college. I was already disappointed with all this happening to me, and getting that notice just ripped me apart, and I was so upset. And the next problem I had to go through was telling my parents. Do you have that parent that you go to first if something bad's happened, and you have that one parent you go to first? Yeah, I do too. So I ended up going to my mom. She was helping me through all of the probation and everything. And since she's also worked with universities before, she's a really good resource for me to talk about like what to do, who to contact. She was there with me through all of that. And what we do is I go to my mom, I tell her what's happened, we come up with a plan to fix it, and then we tell my dad. My dad's very supportive too, don't get me wrong. Sorry Dad, I love you. I know you watch my videos. I mean, I've always been like this anyways, but the best thing I could do was just continue to be proactive and do the best I can to get back in. There was never a thought in my mind of, oh, I'm getting removed from the college and that's it, like I'm done. It was always about, okay, what do I have to do to get back in? How do I get back in? Because I'm not going to finish college. Like, it's been 1 year. I'm not going to just stop because they decided to screw me over and let me get kicked out. Like, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to come back fighting way stronger. And when you're academically removed from the college, you're not allowed back in for a whole academic year, so 2 semesters. So there was a slight bright side I could look to, because this didn't mean that I was gone for the fall and the spring semester. Since I was removed at the very end of my first year, the summer counts as a semester. I was going to be removed for the summer and then the fall, so I could come back in the spring. So I was only missing the first semester of my next year, and I wasn't going to stop and skip a whole year and just sit by idly. I was going to keep going back to school. Something that does help is when you can write sort of a plea letter to come back in, and maybe there was a problem with why you're getting kicked out, and maybe there's a reason why you should be let in. So that's the first thing I did. I wrote down my whole situation, and I kept the tone very respectful, and I did everything I could to let them know, that there's a lot going on. And it came back as rejected. So now I was officially removed, and all I could do was show that I was doing my best to get back in and that I cared about my education and the university. And so what you can do is still go to school. And so I went to a community college, and I took courses there full-time over the summer to show I was still getting some main general courses out of the way that would transfer back to UNL at the university, get the best grades I could, so that way they would transfer over, see how hard I was working, and that was worth taking back into the university. It took such a long time, and I felt like it was forever, but I just felt more empowered to come back stronger. After they saw what my GPA was over that year I was removed, that it was good and that I was eligible to come back in, and I had been gone for a full year, I was finally accepted back in. And then I was able to come back to the university at the spring semester. So I just came back in, finishing up my sophomore year, basically what it looked like to everyone else, because that was just so much to talk about. It was embarrassing, it was confusing, and I just didn't have the time or the want to sit down and tell everyone. I kind of just kept it to myself, and I just did what I could to come back in and not complain about things, and really just power through the rest of my college career as much as I could. So I came back, I finished my semester, and what happens is when you come back off of being removed from academic probation and being let back in, you're still on probation. So you still have to make appointments with this random advisor. You still have to go in and talk about your goals and write out all these forms about what you think you're doing well and things you can improve on. And I still had to do that for the whole semester until I finished my probation checklist. Thankfully, I went back to the same advisor, so she kind of knew what was going on, and she was so nice. Even though I was removed from the university, I I worked my way back in and I was accepted and I was in school. I was still on probation, and I didn't feel like that problem was lifted off my shoulders. But the day that I had my last meeting with that advisor, she was so happy for me, and that made me feel so good. I was so excited for myself. I felt like I was kind of having a mini graduation and I was finishing something. I legitimately started to tear up. I was just because I was so stressed out and I was so happy to be done with this issue and I could just finish college the way I felt like I was supposed to finish college. My junior year, I felt like I was back on track. I could just focus on classes and be normal. So stick with me through the advice part. That's pretty much it though. I was kicked out of college and it wasn't even really my fault. But yeah, starting to talk to my very close friends and family, I started learning that it was actually kind of normal to go on academic probation. So if you are ever on academic probation, just know it's okay and you can't get out of it. I was fully removed and I got out of it, so just know that you're going to be okay. So I have a list of advice. I just want to make sure that I get to everything, so I'll be referring to my notes I put. So I have a list of 8 pieces of advice I have just to put out there, and I just want you to be able to hear and kind of take in, just so it's at least in the back of your head, things I've learned over these past 4 years, and especially after everything I went through. But the first piece of advice I have is be excited for college. I know I just talked about a sort of negative part of college that can happen, but be excited. Go into it with a positive mindset. You get to be on your own. It's a whole new little mini town depending on where you go, but I was so excited to go on tours and everything and see different colleges. And it's true, you really do connect with the college. It just feels right. It's kind of like picking out a home or apartment or something. You see many different styles and one will just fit and one just clicks with you, and that's what happened with me. But I was excited about Husker football and having that big university feel. There's sports that you can go watch. There's so many different friends. You get to be in your own little mini city of people your age and doing the same things as you. This was my path. I'm happy with everything that's happened, even with the past and everything I've been through. It's taught me so much. I'm thankful for everything that I've taken away from all of the negative things that have happened. I've learned how to overcome so many things, and I've learned to work even harder because of it, and utilize resources and just learn from so many experiences. So, and be happy, be excited is my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice, you have time. Don't worry, don't stress. Even as you could see, being fully removed from college, I'm about to graduate in 3 months. I'm doing it, and I did it. To fail a class, it's okay to completely change your major once, even 2-3 times. You have time, you have resources, and some people it takes 2 years to get their degree. Some people it will take, more of the average 4. Some people like me, I'm taking 4 years and a semester to graduate. Some people it takes 6, 7, 8 years. It really just depends on your degree, what you need, what's good for you. You're going to be where I am looking back on everything I've been through, and I'm just excited to be done, and I think it's so rewarding and worth it. My third piece of advice I have is to just set yourself up to succeed. Help yourself as much as possible. You have so many different resources you can take advantage of. Just take your college experience seriously. I know it's really exciting because you're on your own, and there are parties you can go to, and I am aware of that. You're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to have a good time. Enjoy your first time being on your own and living on your own and being in your little college city all by yourself and going to your classes. You're here to get your degree, and there's time to also have fun, but please just set yourself up to succeed, whether that's making sure you have a way to stay organized, which is so important, knowing all of your resources, being familiar with your campus. So just set yourself up to succeed, however that looks for you and whatever you need to make sure that you're okay. And that does lead me to my fourth piece of advice, which is to stay organized and don't be afraid to ask for help. Stay organized in the most way that you can. I went overboard with it my first semester, even though it didn't end up helping me because of what happened with my classes, but we've gone over this, so I'm not gonna bring it back up. With me, I kind of need to do things a couple times in order to really get into a groove, so that was very helpful for me to not be panicked the day of and the hour of going to class. So use your university map or use Google Maps because that helps so much. But even if it's a problem in class, do not be afraid to raise your hand and ask a question. Don't be afraid to go up after class and talk to the professor. And if you do need any sort of help with anything, my 5th piece of advice is over advisors. Advisors are so important. And again, about me, like, I am so independent. I don't like asking for help. I like to just figure things out myself. Advisors are so important. You do get signed up with an advisor for most colleges. I know even from personal experience being in my college of journalism, there's a couple different advisors and I was just automatically assigned to one. For example, my boyfriend's in the College of Business and his advisory setup is a lot different. He isn't assigned one advisor. There's multiple advisors. It can be really hard to get the same one twice. So I don't really understand, but I would either recommend just trying your best to set up an appointment to go back with the same person. Your university has just general advisors that anyone can go to. I ended up learning about them because when I was on academic probation, I had to go to them for a general advisor. So you have so many different options with people. You can go to them once, get the help you need. If you didn't love them, you can go back, find a different person, and you can try someone else out. I ended up having such a positive experience with my advisor. I'm literally so close with my advisor, you guys. Like, we're friends and I love the relationship I have with her. So again, shout out to Andrea. Thank you for everything. You have helped me out so much. I didn't realize how important having an advisor and actually using an advisor was. Advisors know all of the classes. They get feedback from the students coming through. So there's so many times where I went in and said, hey, I'm looking at this class, and she's actually helped me and said, I've actually gotten some negative reviews about this, but there's a very positive review for this class and this professor. Or she would know kind of my style of learning and classes I would like, and she would recommend a different class because there was a professor that would be a little bit more relatable for me, and that helped me out so much. I ended up having a great class experience because of it. To be there if you're thinking about dropping a class and picking up a new one, to talk about different professors. Even if you're thinking about completely changing your major in general, they're there to help you set up your path to succeed. It's not just strictly business either. You can get so close with your advisors. I mean, I go in to talk about, changing a class or setting up my schedule, and then just me talking about my general crazy life. And a lot of people don't know that you can switch your advisors. If you're not happy with your advisor, you don't have to go back to them. You're just recommended an advisor to go to. You can look up other advisors and then just come in for a meeting with them. And Andrea, if you're watching this, I hope you are ready for me back in your office, dropping by out of nowhere for no reason, just there to bug you and talk about life because I know I am. It's been a very long time and I'm excited to just come sit in your office and tell you about my crazy life. And going off of advisors, my next piece of advice is to use all of your resources. You have so many unlimited and free resources at your university, and again, being so independent, I didn't really think to reach out to resources and go use them and sit down with a new person and let them try to help me with something. You're already paying all this money to go to college. You might as well use your resources to help you. Going to your advisor and talking to them about this, they can recommend you resources to contact through the university. You can even just go on your college website and just type in resources and find so many things that can cater to helping you. So still connected to this, the last resource I wanted to bring up, I just want everyone to have the best college experience that they can and set themselves up to succeed in the best way possible. And I think this topic is very serious and very important. Put your mental health first. Your mental health is so important. Everyone has it. Not everyone's going to be the happiest they can all the time, and college is a very tough time. It's important. There's all this money that you've put in to pay to go to college. There's so many all-nighters you're going to pull. There's personal relations with friends and family that you have, or so many things that go into your mental health, and it's not going to be positive all the time. You're going to be stressed. College is so stressful. Know that you can get help with this. For my specific university, we have something called CAPS, which is Counseling and Psychological Services. You can go to them for therapy needs, and I feel like that's kind of a strong word, but just having someone to talk to, have someone listen and not feel like you're complaining, and just getting everything off of your chest is so therapeutic. It's so good. But again, the more people talk about it, the more people know how okay it is. Like, I was so stressed, as you can imagine, with everything I just went through. One of my friends actually said, oh, I know, I've been so stressed out too, and I've actually started going to CAPS. And I said, what's CAPS? And I learned that it was in the university's healthcare center on campus, and that you can literally just start going there and setting up appointments. And for my college, within these couple years, it's actually been made completely free to any student that goes to my university. They can go in there and make an appointment, just someone to talk to, and it's normal. So many people go, and having my friend say that she went there and it's been making her feel good just to be able to complain and talk, made her feel so much better, and it took a little bit of stress off. And I ended up actually doing that, and you're not the only one that's stressed at college. Everyone is stressed out. And my last piece of advice is just have fun, enjoy your college experiences, try new things out. This is the time to try new things out. You get to meet new people. Don't be afraid to try to make friends in class. And outside of class, there are so many different clubs and groups you can take advantage of. Enjoy your time. Just let yourself have fun every once in a while. Give yourself a break and just have a good time. And that's really it. I think everything in here is so important to talk about. Again, this was a lot for me to talk about because it's not something I talk about on the regular. It's here to just share my story. And again, like, I'm over everything that's happened. It's just been a huge learning experience. I know this is a lot. If you've stuck through the majority of this, thank you so much. I think everything I've talked about was important and needed to be said, and I'm just here to give advice in any way I can and help someone. So thank you, and next week I'll have a more light and positive video. Thank you so much for being here on my channel and for listening to what I have to say and supporting me. Your support means so much. Again, I was so nervous to start a channel, but I'm having so much fun, whether it takes off or not. I just like making these videos and sitting down and talking to you all. I notice every like I get, every comment, every subscriber, you all mean so much. So thank you so much for your support. I'm here for you guys and just sit here and talk. So make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you never miss a post, and I will see you next Saturday. Bye.